generally when the crew come, I will get them to stand either side just for demonstration purposes, so we can have two hands free to look at things, and they'll ensure that we're safe. We're just going to go and have a quick look at it now before it gets deployed and look at the different parts of it. So if you don't go beyond me, it'd be great, but you can come right up to it, okay? These weights can be removed. It generally depends on the sediment type. If you get you can get fine sand that's very compact and it's not biting. And what you do is you come up and you're like, right, from upstairs they can see what kind of sediment, if it's rock or if it's sand, and they're like, no, it's sand there. You put on your weights and it puts pressure on it so you get a better bite. So if you're on mud, I would be taking off the weights, because if it's really soft, it'll nearly get buried in the sediment. It'll go really, really deep. When it comes up, these trap doors will be open and the sediment will be coming out. So it's a personal judgment. You get information from upstairs and you get information from the crew. If you're on a research vessel, like the crew have done this 100 times, well, you have to remember the data is your research. So I want you to make sure everything is correct. If it comes up and it's only a small grab, they're like, well, will that do? You're like, no, look, it's not acceptable. You can keep it and throw back for another one. But then after a few goes, if it's not grabbing, you're going to have to move on. You're wasting time, wasting money, you're not getting any information. But what you will do is you're recording your data sheet, any information that you have got from the site, that it wasn't penetrable, what came up was rocks or maybe it was a kelp bed. Once you hit anything like that, you move straight away because it's not on ground. So when you're designing your survey, you need to have the scope. Like you look at Admiralty charts, a lot of them haven't been done up in the last few years. You get a certain amount of information, they say there's sand here. I've gone out surveying. What was meant to be fine sand was kelp bed and rock, and I couldn't get any sample from it. So you need to have the scope to move. So if you're doing it on behalf of someone else, you need them to say, look, to make sure that it's okay, that you can change the survey points, that they're not rigid, that you have that scope. It could be something that the ship can't get if it's really, well, normally for a marine survey it has to be less than a force 4 or a force 5 in order to do it, because it gets too dangerous. You'll see when this goes up in the air, if it's windy, it can swing and someone is likely to get injured. It's very unlikely that it'll land down straight. The reason this is a Van Veen grab, but it's on what's called a day grab, because it has a rigid frame around it. So that means you've got a higher chance of success in that it'll land straight. You can get the Van Veen grab without the frame, but what happens sometimes if you have a strong current, it can go down crooked. Did Ian go through, did he show you how sometimes if it goes crooked, it doesn't get a full bite? And when we put in, you'll see the sediment like this, it'll go to an angle, and so you'll put it in and you won't have your 1 metre squared. Keep in your head, it's quantitative. You need to get up to 0.5 metre squared if you're doing a research survey for replicates. Okay, and you take an extra one then for sediment for analysis, because if you take a subsample from it, then again you don't have your 0.1 metre squared again, you've taken some from it. So it's very important to keep all those little things in mind. Under time pressure, people will say, well, have you not got enough in 5? And you're like, no, I really need another one. If you're in shallow ground, it only takes 5 minutes. You'll see how quick this will come up and down. Yeah, sure, they're going to make sure all these are connected, you're not going to lose it. Normally you have a core that you look to C to D. We don't have a core today. It's quite clean out here. Okay, so you see now it's taut. And once it lands, it triggers and the bite just grabs it. Yeah, so we're going to go in, we're going to open the trap doors and we're going to see what we got. Okay? Yeah, please. So what you're going to do is put it in, measure right down the centre, yeah, and push it all the way down as far as it'll go, yeah, and pull it out. And you've got what, 9? Yeah. So 9 centimetres. The depth of penetration, what's acceptable for the different types of sediments. Okay, you can just put that into the tray. That's the, where's it? You can leave it down, they have to get used to doing this. So we're going to get 2V, yeah, and we'll carry it over to the tray. Thanks. You can see the quite light brown here. This is the only oxygenated area we have. The rest is quite dark and muddy. And what you do now is you pick it up and you feel it in your fingers. Have you done sediments in there? Have you felt any sediments?
No.
Okay, you'll be able to feel it through the gloves. So pick up a little piece.
Yeah.
Can you feel any grains? Or is it all soft?
Very soft.
If it's all very soft, then you're talking about mud, silt and clay.
Slight bit of grain.
But you've gone down a little bit.
Yeah.
So if you look at the surface,
Yeah.
you can feel any of that sand. Okay?
Oh, yeah, okay.
So what you've got there is sandy mud. The majority of it is mud, but you got some sand on the top. The largest portion of the sediment is what you name at the end. So it's sandy mud, and you can have silty sandy mud, and you can have gravelly muddy sand. Is the biggest quantity of it, yeah. Okay. Because this could take a 5 or 10 litre bucket. These are the size buckets we have.